If your debts are piling up, you've still got bills coming in, you've got expenses that you still need to pay, and you're not entirely sure where your next paycheck is coming from, then you're gonna want to watch this video if you're a funnel builder, because I'm gonna tell you how to fix that properly. Hi guys, Mike here from sellyourservice.co.uk, and in this video, we're gonna talk about ongoing expenses, the growth of the expense rate, and how to deal with that if you're a funnel builder. So one of the biggest problems that funnel builders face, and frankly all small businesses, is cash flow. So this is the amount of cash that comes into your business and then the amount of cash that leaves your business. It's extremely important that you continue to have cash flow, kind of similar to running water in a river, to make sure that everything's healthy and oxygenated. Some people call it the lifeblood of a business. It's almost more important in some respects than profit, because continuing cash flow shows that you've got activities both coming and going, and then you can work on those profit margins. The problem comes when you're continually having to pay debts. You've got bills that have to go, and as your expenses continue to increase, and we've talked about this increase in expenses and debts and bills and outgoings, your regular income doesn't seem to go up with it, and there's a big mind block that can happen, and it can feel overwhelming when you have credit card letters coming through the door. You've got people saying, hey, you haven't paid this invoice yet, you've already got a few debts piling up, and your regular bills and expenses still need to be paid. The common misconception is to follow what seems like fairly standard common sense advice and start looking at your expenses and start cutting them back. I personally am a massive proponent of growing and outgrowing debt. You can't grow your business and deal with a outgoing problem by shrinking your outgoings. Yes, there's absolutely expenses you can cut back on. We had to cut back on a bunch of them here when we were going through a few money problems. You know, I no longer could have Sky TV. I couldn't buy games on Steam all the time. There's loads of expenses where people often go, well, yeah, obviously you stop buying that kind of shit. But when we have a look at our own expenses, we don't realize how much money we spend on Starbucks coffee or going out and, you know, eating takeaway food. While that helps, and it certainly helps trimming the fat, I massively believe that outgrowing your debt and looking for ways to increase your income is the problem. I don't believe that debt is the problem. I believe that income is the problem. A lack of income is a far greater problem to have, and often people see that as the bigger problem than reducing debt. You are always going to have debt, you're always going to have outgoings, and you're always going to have expense. In my opinion, working on how to increase your income is far more important than cutting back debt. So the first thing I like to do is make a list of all the things that I have to do. Most people don't run a daily, weekly, monthly, or even a yearly average budget, and they kind of just guess based on their app and based on their mobile phone, like what kind of money is coming in and out of their business, including their own personal life. So you need to have a budget. You need to work out how much money you owe as a standard base rate level of debt. You also need to know how much you have to pay out per month in your expenses. By measuring those expenses, you're going to have a better idea of how much you need to make. So the first thing I like to do is, let's say you work out that you need to make $3,000 per month in order to pay off your debt, pay off your bills, pay your living expenses, pay yourself a little bit of money, and continue to live. That doesn't include necessarily all of the business expenses, so you want to add that in as well. You need to have an understanding of what you need to pay, what you need to live on, and what the business needs to live on. Now, let's say combined, that's $5,000. You then need to think of ways of earning $5,000 per month, as opposed to thinking, I need to cut back. Your business will never grow if you continue to cut back, and not growing is what will kill your business eventually. I would rather think, I need to think about new ways to find an extra $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 per month. Think of products, work harder, work late, work smarter, learn new things, than thinking, here's how can I begin to cut back on expenses. I completely agree that sometimes things you're paying for just aren't worth it. There was an app recently that I'm just not using. It cost me 79 bucks a month. I don't really see any benefit from it. So we got rid of it. And yeah, that'll save me a few $100 a year. But more importantly, it's up to me to think, well, if I do want that, how can I afford it, as opposed to I can't afford it. And you see that theme come up a lot in things like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and Robert Kiyosaki's books. And a lot of books on money is about, you should be looking for ways to afford afford something as opposed to a way to cut back on something. Something else to think about is, frankly, toughen up, princess. A lot of the time when banks and people and invoice companies and suppliers and everyone who owes you money send you these threatening letters, what they really want is to get paid. They don't want to scare you. They don't want to put you in a bad situation. What they want is to get paid. So your job is to, frankly, toughen up, accept the fact that some people are going to be pissed off with you for a while and that your job is to find their money for them. However, cutting back expenses from someone else's budget and someone else's invoice is not going to help you pay somebody else. So I would still focus on growing my income in other areas, looking for recurring revenue, looking for muse-based products, so things where you can build and sell and buy products that aren't necessarily related to funnel building, that give you a decent baseline. We sell a few products on things like Amazon, we have a bunch of courses, we have books. Those provide residual income for me outside of my main income as a funnel builder, but they also help pay for a lot of my expenses. If you're not able to deal with a few threatening letters and people saying, hey, you owe us this kind of money, you're not going to last in business very long, because those letters are a dime a dozen. I get them all the time. And yeah, we go, do you know what? You're absolutely right. Here's your money. We deserve to pay you. But that's just par for the course with running a business. The second half is that communication with people is so vital. People do want their money, and they know that if they scare you or piss you off, you're less likely to pay them. So do yourself a favor, find the phone number at the top of the invoice, call them up and say to them, hey, this is the situation. I'm not going to be able to pay you. They're unlikely to get angry. It's a really funny thing where people know that the angrier they get with you, the less likely they are to pay you. And most people just want to get paid. They can work out a payment plan. You've got to treat your business like a separate entity. You're managing something that is a separate entity. Your job is to communicate with people who you owe money to and think of ways yourself to increase income on the other side. It's way more important to increase your level of income and increase what's coming into the business rather than reducing what's going out. That's kind of like trying to plug loads of leaks when the boat is still sinking. I would rather think of ways to be able to, deal with way more and have more income so that I don't have to worry about those debts, because I'm always going to have money coming out of the business. I'd rather think of ways to be able to increase my income rather than decrease my outgoings. Remember, debt isn't the problem, your income is the problem. If you were losing $100,000 per month, but your income was $150,000 per month, you wouldn't care. So think about ways to increase your income rather than reduce your debt or reduce your expenses. Finally, think about all the ways where you've gone badly with money, or you've done something stupid with money. Only recently, I kind of came back and I was like, no, I'm sick and tired of buying hardware and software and peripherals. And someone mentioned to me about ergonomic keyboards. And I was like, yeah, I really need an ergonomic keyboard. In fact, this here is because I need an ergonomic keyboard. So I was like, right, let me go and have a look. And I was looking at like $200-300 keyboards that were ergonomically designed. And I just stopped myself and think, this really isn't something that I need to buy right now. Maybe if I go out there, sell a product for $300 and make myself $300 profit, then I can go back and buy it. So start thinking in terms of how can I afford this rather than I can't afford this at all. Buying liabilities and buying things you don't need is the fastest way for you to end up having to sell things that you do need. One of the biggest problems as small businesses is that we get offers and deals and apps and software and hardware and new shiny toys and shit come into our life so frequently that we forget that a lot of our business, frankly, relies on us creating great content, helping our audience, and focusing on providing massive value to our market. An ergonomic keyboard isn't going to help me do any of that, but I then think, will I be able to type more if I buy that keyboard? Don't worry about that. You should be thinking about how can I afford something rather than just buying something for the sake of it because you think that's going to make your life better. Let me know in the comments if this was useful or if there's a certain area with debts and bills and stuff that you struggle with as a funnel builder. I know there's a lot of misinformation out there. There's no need for you to have expensive offices. I know a business that went under very quickly because they had crazy expensive offices for a situation you didn't need. We're looking at redoing our office situation because it's easier for me to work in other certain locations, but there's also no reason for you to stop buying things and stop spending money. It's all about how much income you can produce. It's all about attracting the right level of income and increasing your income rather than reducing your expenses. Let me know in the comments below if you've heard anything like that or if that's something that you want to take on board. In the meantime, guys, thank you very much for watching. I'm Mike from sellyourservice.co.uk. If you're new, hello, I produce new content for funnel builders like you every single week. So at the moment, it seems like every single day. Giving me a subscribe would be really useful. I'd massively appreciate it. Also, sharing the video is kind of the thing that seems to get the most kind of traction and growth. I've probably got a couple of videos either side of me right now as I'm talking, but I'll wrap it up now. Thanks very much for watching and keep building those funnels.